welcome to another Tip and Sip. And before I go into introductions, as you can see, it looks like it's going to be basically tips today. We're right after lunch, so both of us have had plenty of drink today, so I'm not going to worry about sips today. So we're going to be power-packed! No, just kidding. But we are going to have some great tips. As always, I am Paul Trogdon with Sweet T Realty, powered by Coldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage, and today I have Miss Kim Hall with Key Title Insurance. So you might be saying, but Paul, you have Ryan as one of your insurance guys. You're telling me that you work with multiple agents? Well, the answer to that is yes, but we're talking about something completely different today. So with that said, Miss Kim, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, so let's go ahead and kind of kick off. What is title insurance and who is Key Title Insurance?
Yes, Key Title Insurance. What land title insurance is once the contract, it goes to your attorney. The attorney has a paralegal on staff that will search the property. They will search for outstanding deeds of trust, judgments, making sure the seller has the right to sell, all kinds of survey matters. If there happens to be easements, if there's any kind of encroachments that have been reported, those type of matters are shown. Once the paralegal is done, then they submit it to the attorney for review, but they get the insurance on that. And what that is, and a lot of people don't know about it because it's a one-time fee. Okay. There are no renewal premiums. And
so no monthly...
No, and the policy never expires. So that is the best thing about it. And it's like I said, it's a one-time fee, and the value that comes with like that is because even if you were to sell the home, sometimes there have been situations where a past owner has come back and found out the family has sold the land and they want their interest in it and their interest was not signed off. That policy protects. You have somebody to fight for your rights.
Okay.
We know people get deeds, and that is a valid for purchasing the property. However, that land title policy, that protects their rights, and it also gives them somebody to defend them, meaning the attorneys, the searching staff, just someone to handle that, where you can have somebody to fight for your equity in that home.
Okay.
So the value of it, because it is so quiet, and usually people just do that, they don't understand. But there has been a lot of people opting out, especially buying cash. They are opting out, saying, oh, I don't need it, I got my deed. They don't see the value for that one-time fee. So those have been the first thing, is just educating a lot of people on the importance of that and how valuable even surveys are. A lot of times people are in new construction and they say, oh, our builder have one, we see it, everything's okay on there. It's like, well, it could have been done before the house was built. And we have seen it where half the house is sitting in an easement and is uninsurable, or they can get land title insurance insuring the property lines. However, it is going to be excluded as a violation. So there's a lot of matters that can come up during that process.
Okay. Now, so you've talked about fee a couple times. Is that one, is that a $10,000 fee, $5,000 fee, or based on the price of the house? Well, how does that come across? And when do they pay it?
Okay. In North Carolina, we are all regulated. Wherever all title companies are at the same, it is in tiers.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts like from $1 to $100,000. It's like $2.54. And then as the price range, so title insurance is based off the coverage amount, whichever is the higher, a loan policy or the purchase price.
Okay.
So it's always off the. Now we have seen it where people say the house is worth $500,000 and they're only taking $350,000 out as a loan. They can still get their policy for $5,000. There's just a fluctuation and a difference because in the tiers, you just charge the difference.
Okay.
So, but I mean, like you said, it's one of the cheapest forms of insurance that are out there, and just a one-time fee.
Now you said $2.34. Is that per
thousand?
Per thousand.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then it just drops down. It's like $1.29, and it just keeps going down.
Okay.
So it only gets better. You know what I mean? As it the price range gets higher.
Okay.
But like again, we're all regulated, and the great thing about the rates is. Remember if I said that the policy never expires. So the seller's policy, you can use it. The attorney will need it definitely, because you always want to make sure you come up from the seller's policy. It's not transferable, because if there were issues that were insured over already, you want them continued for the buyer. And that's why it's just a continue, and we do that.
Okay.
So a lot of, like I said, we know we do that at Key, even if it's a different company that the seller has. We definitely can still continue that coverage, you know, for the buyer. And the best thing is they get a 50% discount on their premium.
Okay.
By just having
moving it over, keeping the same company.
So it's like I said, a lot of times, you know, you might do it off our rate schedule, but at the same time, just picture 50% of that a wash, because if we have that prior policy.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Now, you've mentioned Key a couple times. Now, you hear of Progressive, Geico, My Carolina Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this title insurance that we're talking about, how many are out there compared to Key? And you hear what's good. You know, Progressive is great. You know, or Geico, it's crap, you know, whatever.
That's right.
What is y'all's ratings, and how many title insurance companies are actually out there?
Well, and then the industry has changed. Usually, you would work for a direct underwriter, and that's usually there's like 5 major underwriters.
Okay.
Well, as the business has changed, the needs have changed of buyers or just getting insurance. Like Seacoast does, they offer the package under their umbrella, so people don't have to shop around for the gold standard, for the best of the best. You know, they made sure they got the warranty, the insurance, the mortgage, the title insurance. They have gone out and they found the best of the best in all those areas to put them under your umbrella.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to be able to work as a whole that way, because we call it the gold standard. And I know you've heard that, you know, many times within the family. You guys definitely do. Not only as the agents, but you have all the vendors that are gold standard, and that's what separates, you know, we believe the companies. There are like 5 major companies out there, but like I said, as the needs of industries have changed, they are able to have their own agencies now. So that's what gives them the opportunity to have the best of the best under their umbrella. But I will say Seacoast, been in the industry 34 years, Seacoast does offer the overall package.
All right, awesome. Now, let me take a second and let's move into sitcom / 1950s mode and go to Dragnet. Dun, 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 dun. So, the names and the places have been changed so that, all right, so I'll stop. All right, so with some of these things, can you give me a real life example of where you guys were able to, man, I'm so glad that I had this insurance type thing? Go ahead.
Sure can. And recently, I mean, not too long past, there was actually a buyer, and they did go through Key. You know, they purchased the land title policy. Well, that buyer came home a couple months later, and there was a foreclosure notice on their front door. And so, of course, they didn't know what to do. They called their agent, and it was, you know, Seacoast agent. So when they called, the agent goes, pull out your closing paperwork. Did you get a policy? Because that's the one thing about title insurance. There's a lender involved. They're automatically get a policy, but that does not automatically give the owner theirs. You know, the buyer, excuse me. So they do have to purchase it. And she did happen to say yes, and it was Key Title. So we're like, great. She goes, let me make one phone call. Let me see. So she made a phone call. We got with the buyer. We were able to get the information, got right on line with claims, because that was the peace of mind, because she was freaking out because it wasn't even her lender. So it was like, well, I'm going to lose my house. I just got it. So that was a great peace of mind. I was able to reinsure her. That's what that policy was about. You have somebody to call and start defending you. So any foreclosure notice you got, so she had to send that information into our claims department. They pull up her policy, and we'll get back with you, and we'll let you know how this turns out. Because, so what it turned out to be, and I will let you know that as well, there was a human error on the closing side done at the attorney's office. Okay. It was an oversight. We at Key Title, we ask that every deed of trust be paid, especially equity lines be closed. In this particular situation, the seller went back out and borrowed money on the equity line that was attached to that house, and because it was never closed and they never made a payment. So that lender was in first position over her mortgage. So that was but we had been told, because the attorney does all the closing, the individual that, oh, no, we closed it, everything's paid off. Well, that's why you got insurance. Like if you get in a car accident, that's why you have insurance of the unknown.
So did the attorney ended up having to pay for that? Or did y'all pay for that to begin with and the attorney pays you back? Or did any money come out of her pocket?
No money came out of her pocket, and that's what that policy was about. She had somebody, like I said, to defend her. They made sure that situation was taken care of, and then that part of claims, they don't really give that part out to us, how they were able to maneuver the other end of it, but the buyer was taken care of. Yeah, the buyer was taken care of, and it was a peace of mind.
Meet my cousin, Tony.
Yeah.
No. All right. So with what I understand, now is this something? So whenever a buyer is looking to buy a property, they're spending money up front, for appraisal, with the mortgage company. They're spending money, with inspections and stuff like that. And all this is kind of coming out before they even get to the closing table. When exactly do they get this insurance? Because, I know especially if it's escrow, insurance on the house and everything kind of happens all at the closing table. When does it actually happen? When does it officially start? Okay, it starts as soon as that search from the attorney's paralegal gets back on his or her desk. They reach out to us. We do a commitment. We are making a commitment to you that this is what we're going to insure, and if there's anything that might be taken exception to that may not give them the best coverage that they can get, we do give them an opportunity before closing. Hey, if you tell us you're going to do this, this, and this, then this is going to be clean. This is going to be good. However, if we can't get that, this has got to show as an exception. Okay. So, and that all happens before closing. That's a commitment. Once closing does happen, once everything's been recorded, everything's been funded, closing's taken place, they have their keys, that's when the attorney gives us the final paperwork, and they usually get their policy within 15 to 30 days. Okay. Because the attorney gets it to us, and we take it and we put it in policy form and mail it to the owner or email. Okay. So, but that's just considered part of their closing costs. Oh, exactly. Well, okay. Yes, because the attorney's office will make sure to put it in their disclosure. Okay. Yes. All right. Awesome. So one of the things I always like to try and do is, from a standpoint of, is there anything particular within, title insurance that you would just say, this is what I've seen here lately, or, here's the best tip. And of course, the best tip is whether you're getting a loan or not, get title insurance. But anything else that you can think of that might be just like, yeah, this just happened the other day, or, you just reminded me of something. Anything along those lines? Yeah, definitely survey issues. A lot of times those surveys, people are like, no, I'm good. I can see everything. Everything's fine. Not realizing that whole pool that's beautiful in the backyard, and the fence and landscaping that's there is not even yours, and you're going to find out once you move in. Because a lot of times people do see, mainly in urban areas, but it has happened before, pretty fences and landscaping being put up, not realizing they're putting it on somebody else's property. So surveys have been a big issue. And those, like I said, if they are done before closing, the attorney, sometimes can work into agreements with homeowners, or neighbors. They'll do encroachment agreements and stuff like that. Sometimes it's more difficult after closing once you're in. Yeah. Because a lot of times that encroachment agreement might have been done by the last owner. And they're like, oh, well, no, I don't want to do that. So, surveys have been the biggest issue. It's just making sure where your property lines are. Oh, now that's a good question then. Mm-hmm. So if I'm buying the house, and let's say that the house does have an encroachment, but there was an agreement between Bob, backdoor neighbor, and Fred that you're buying Fred's house. So that does not continue with you, or is that something that you guys find and go, you need to take care of that and having something in writing yourself, or because the reason why I asked this is a lot of y'all know I'm from Asheboro, and my family, we have a family farm. But to get to the road, there is supposedly, the way I understand, lifetime rights, because there's a driveway from whenever my grandpa and my great aunt, it was all my great-grandpa's, then he divided it out, and then from there, like my dad and my aunt owned part. Now my sister actually lives down there. Awesome. Yeah, from that standpoint. So you got multiple people using this driveway on my great aunt's land, which is not even my dad's first cousins, is now our second or third cousins, because unfortunately they've passed away. So again, it's kind of one of those where it's trickling out. So whenever my sister, whenever my dad, I guess, deeded her, her part of the land and everything, is that something that would have come up that she needed to do, or is that something that title insurance would take care of?
Okay, normally it was done in the deed, and when that deed is done, the attorney, while they're drafting the new deed, they will always make sure that that they're shown that it's lifetime rights. So even if she sold it to somebody else outside the family, they understand there's lifetime rights to everybody in one area to use that access. Yes, definitely.
All right. I've always kind of wondered that, because it's one of those things that I've heard. Again, like I said, growing up, in the sticks, it's like, well, that could be taken away. It's like, no, and especially if you buy back there, especially if you have a loan for it, I would imagine the banks want to cover their interest.
Exactly right. That's right. And we've seen it before where there isn't access because there was no rights given when it started to being divided. So it would be considered that landlocked. So, like I said, the attorney's office would find it, or they would let you know ahead of time when their paralegal does that search. They would definitely let you know, hey, we're just going to give you there's no access. We see this is where the property is, but there's no access on record. So at that time, that's when it's found out. And then a lot of times, some things are able to be done before closing, where the agent can work it out with the buyer or the sellers, with their neighbors that, hey, and then it can be added to a new deed. So sometimes it may not be on a past deed, but now it's a problem and it can be, worked out. It can, yes.
All right. Awesome. So the biggest tip that I would say, just from a standpoint of getting to know more about title insurance and the fact that you only have to pay once, very few things are that way anymore. It's like, I feel like everything, you have to, you're paying $5.99 a month, type thing. So the biggest tip that I got out today is, one of the things that a lot of people aren't doing, and I say that from a standpoint of, with my clients, and I'll be honest with you, I usually don't push it, especially if it's in a, well built up neighborhood or anything like that, but get a survey, spend the money and go ahead and get a survey. So that's good to know. Any other tips or anything?
No, just loving to be able to reach out to more people because of the value of title insurance being so cheap. I have been asked to let you know there might be somebody you come across that says, well, I bought this property 2 years ago. I bought it 15 years ago. It was deeded to me 15. It was a gift. I don't see where I have title insurance. Can I get it now? Yes, you can.
Okay.
You just need to make sure you get with the real estate attorney. Have the paralegal, whatever their fee is. But again, you're going through the same process, so they can go back. If they find out that they don't have it, they can go back later. We just work with the attorney and get it certified, and that's how you get it.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Guys, there you go. Title insurance. Again, we're kind of hitting on some things from the standpoint of insurance overall, mortgage rates, mortgage loans. Next month we're going to be talking about warranty with a 210 warranty. So we got that coming up. But guys, it's something that now let me ask you this.
Yes.
So it is. And I'm just recanting from the standpoint of just going through our whole conversation.
Yes.
So if you have a loan, it's got to be done. But if you don't have a loan, it doesn't necessarily have to be done title insurance, correct?
You want it done either way.
Well, exactly.
Anytime you buy real estate, put it that way.
All right.
Anytime you buy real estate.
There you go. Because it was one of those where I've always understood it that, you got to, title insurance, that's just a closing cost, and that's one of the things, and that's the way that, I've always kind of thought about it. And I guess what I did in my head was just, you cannot have it, but it's the dumbest thing you could do, so do it. So I just put in my head, you got to have title insurance. So anyways, so guys, with that said, thank you for joining me on this Tip and a Sip. As always, we want you sitting on your front porch sipping fake sweet tea, imaginary sweet tea. But guys, thank you. And like I said, we'll see you next month. God bless.